Joining me now is Dee Taylor, the president of Unite Here, which is the national arm of the Culinary Union in Las Vegas. Dee, thanks so much for joining us. Is that political reporting about Joe Biden true?
No, it's not. It's fiction, but I guess that's what goes on today.
Tell me why you're not endorsing.
Well, the local leadership here decided there were a lot of great candidates. They thought the members should be given the facts, and they will make the decision. The local here in 2016 did not endorse either. The last time we endorsed in a contested election campaign was in 2008. We were the first union in the country to endorse Obama over Clinton.
How much input are you getting from your membership over which presidential candidate they like right now, and where might that lead you in the future?
Oh, well, they're, it's for them, they're very excited. A housekeeper, a dishwasher, a cook, a cocktail waitress is at the center of the universe right now. We're talking about them. They're excited about that because often they feel like service type workers don't have their voices heard. So they're excited, their families are excited, and we think it's great.
Do you have issues or your priorities? Do they align with any one candidate more than another right now? No, you're not endorsing, but is there a candidate or two that you feel like best has the interests of your union in their eyes?
Well, we had 7 town hall meetings at Local 226. And we really have 3 principles as we head to this election, because our objective is to defeat Donald Trump in 2020. That's our primary objective. But the 3 principles was one job should be enough, immigration reform, and health care. And one job should be enough is about actually going back in this country where you could work one job and sustain yourself. And the kind of jobs we think that often are union jobs. Second, on immigration reform, obviously we've been fighting TPS and DACA, but we need comprehensive immigration reform, not the rhetoric coming out of Washington and the Trump administration. And number 3, on health care. The health care system in this country is broken. All the Democrats have different proposals on it, but it's all to expand health care. I think we've had a false argument about health care, actually. I think everybody realizes everybody should have health care. That's not a privilege. That should be a right.
I know you guys have gone back and forth, a little bit of back and forth between Bernie Sanders, the flyer that went out warning against Medicare for All, kicking members off their health care plan, and then the vicious attacks that the union said it received post that flyer being reported publicly. Here was Bernie Sanders the other night responding to that.
Obviously, that is not acceptable to me. And I don't know who these so-called supporters are. Anybody making personal attacks against anybody else in my name is not part of our movement. We don't want them.
Do you have a response?
Yeah, first, let's talk about health care. I think we've gotten really off track. I think the question is, how are we going to deal with price of health care? Let's just talk about prescription drugs. They're out of control. That can get solved now in Congress. I think we have to deal with price. It's very hard to talk about health care until you deal with price. Second, the local here has felt very strongly that people should have a choice. They feel strongly about that. There are other parts of our union where they don't have health care, or it's not very good health care. In fact, there's actions at 16 cities across the nation for airline catering workers where they either have poor or no health care. So having an option like Medicare for All is a great thing. But I think what it gets down to is this. As a nation and as Democrats, Donald Trump wants to destroy Obamacare, pre-existing conditions, et cetera. As Democrats, we have to fight to expand health care for all Americans. It should be a right, not a privilege.
So it's safe to say that no matter the nominee, you guys will get behind that person.
We have to defeat Donald Trump in 2020. We can't have another 4 years. Health care, immigration, the kind of jobs in this country are key. And that's why we're excited about this caucus, and we're excited about the election in 2020.
Dee Taylor. Dee, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.